So you shoot video, but you want to shoot it better. These 5 simple tips and tricks will help level up your video game to certified crispy. So what's up guys, Jonathan here with TLD, and tip number 1 is something really simple but often overlooked. And in fact, when I started shooting video, I had no idea what it was, but it makes a huge difference. That is simply to take advantage of custom white balance. Now you can do this with an 18% gray card, otherwise known as a white balance card, and they're relatively inexpensive. I'll post a few different options down below, but the idea here is to white balance before you shoot. That way you're not making your post-production editing hell, or get it to the point where sometimes you can't even save the shot. Now this may have happened to you where you're shooting like a mother, you're excited, you get your footage back to your computer and you realize, wow, that looks really, really blue or cool, or damn, that's really nasty warm. Now the process slightly differs depending on what camera you have, but it's really simple, and if you're not doing this now, please do so because it makes a huge difference. Now tip number 2 is, if you can, invest in a good quality video tripod, because you don't want to be that guy or girl who's got this nice camera and stacks it on some books. So when you see those silky smooth buttery pans, chances are that's being done with a fluid head, and that's what you want to look out for. Cheaper tripods, or ones that aren't designed for video, often tend to give you jerky movements. And on top of slick pans, you can do a lot of really cool shots with just a tripod. I know some of you might be intimidated or feel like I gotta go get a slider or a dolly or a jib or something crazy, but you don't. And in fact, I actually use my tripod for most of my trick shots. One that I use all the time probably looks more complicated than it actually is, but it's simply just to let the tripod down and bring the camera down, and it gives it a really crazy cinematic look. Once you get those down, you can start to experiment and have some fun. You can do some pushes and some pulls, and when you get those mastered, that adds a complete new level to your shooting. Now tip number 3 is to be aware and take advantage of framing, because that makes all the difference in the world.
Framing is everything, because you can take something that doesn't look so great and turn it into an amazing shot depending on how you frame the entire situation. There's a rule of thirds that you want to keep in mind sometimes, and that's just saying that having your subject in 1/3 of the frame on either the left or the right side will make a huge difference.
For me, I want to make sure that I keep my shots nice and tidy, right? So I want to be able to sometimes push something off to the left or the right or something and use the thirds to line it up. But a lot of times I use the thirds just as a guide to make sure that, for example, I can keep something in the middle third, or I can make sure that something stays like on the top half of the frame. Whatever the kind of look that I'm going for, I use the thirds to make sure that I'm getting it and I'm not just guessing that, oh, it's kind of over there or whatever. I know exactly where it's always at.
Now tip number 4 is for those of you who shoot outside a lot or have a lens with a really wide open aperture, that's to pick up an ND filter. The simplest way I could describe an ND filter is that it's like sunglasses for your camera. So if you've ever shot some video outside and everything is massively overblown or overexposed, where did Austin go? There he is. And much like the white balance cards, these vary in prices, but again, I will post a few different options down below, but this is essential for you filmmakers out there. Now last up, this is really important. That's, don't be afraid to shoot on what you have, whether that's a smartphone or a point and shoot camera. I know some of you may see some of your favorite YouTubers shooting on pro cameras and get a little intimidated, but you can do some awesome stuff on cheaper cameras. For those that remember the classic iPhone 6 and tree, that was shot completely with an iPhone 6 Plus, and you probably wouldn't have known had I not told you. They have adapters that allow you to mount your smartphone onto a tripod so you can really step up your smartphone shooting game, a la Super Scientific. Or if you have a point and shoot, just something as simple as adding a level of stabilization will completely change the game.
Sometimes when you're shooting handheld, you get some really shaky shots, so adding something like that adds some stabilization, especially if you're moving around with the camera.
Now some of you might be saying, Jonathan, I got really stable hands, why do I need that? And sometimes it's really more for the creative element, where you're gonna get into shots that you might not have thought of or been able to get with just using your hands. So with these steps, you are now one step closer to joining Team Crispy. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did and you are feeling like being awesome, make sure to go Chuck Norris on that like button. And of course, in return, you get a virtual high five at your face. For those curious, the intro for this video was actually a template we modified from Video Blogs, which has tons of After Effects templates, stock footage, explosions, epic titles, and really just tons and tons of video awesomeness to spice up your chops. Now TLD fans can check it out for free, details down below. If you have any questions, drop me a line or hit me up on Twitter at TLD Today. Aside from that, this is Jonathan, and I will catch you guys later.